Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to do something a little bit different and I'm going to go over a book that I recently read. It is called Esoteric Course of Kabbalah. It was written by Samael on Weor. He is a modern day Gnostic teacher. Now, this esoteric text, it talks about sexual alchemy and it talks about the true value of retaining and transmuting sexual energy. This type of stuff is hidden knowledge that secret societies have kept out of the public sphere of information for hundreds of years. It it is the type of stuff that is only shared with those at the very top uh, of the pyramid. However, with the rise of the internet, hidden information like this is becoming harder to suppress. And it's slowly becoming a lot more readily accessible for those with a rare interest to learn about reality shattering truths and wisdom about life. I've handpicked a compilation of memorable quotes after my time reading this book. I hope it provides some food for thought for you, and I think it will certainly provide most people with a great level of cognitive dissonance, which is the psychological barrier that stops us from considering new perspectives that challenge our worldview. So, without further ado, I will now begin to read a compilation of memorable quotes from this book. When a man and a woman learn how to avoid the sexual spasm and the ejaculation of the onseminous, then the igneous serpent of our magical powers awakens. A pornographic image strikes the senses and then passes to the mind. The outcome of this perception is a sexual sensation that is soon transformed into animal desire. The man is the arcanum number one, and the woman is the arcanum number two of the tarot. The Christified soul is the outcome of the sexual union of both. Sexual function is the basic foundation of the human soul. Those who transmute their sexual energies have the right to incarnate their soul. You only need two things in life: wisdom and love. This is how you will attain happiness, peace, and abundance. If the serpent rises through the medulla channel, we convert ourselves into angels. And if the serpent descends, we convert ourselves into demons. Not to ejaculate the ans seminis in the supreme moment is an absolute sacrifice of the I. The outcome of such a denial of oneself is the awakening of the Kundalini. Light and consciousness are two phenomena of the same thing. The higher levels of Christic consciousness we develop, the more levels of light we attain. Since a woman's body is a passive and receptive element, it is clear that her body collects and stores more of the results of the sexual acts than all of those men who commit adultery with her. Those results are atomic substances from the men with whom she has had sexual intercourse. Therefore, when someone has sexual intercourse with a person who has been with another partner or other partners, both then absorb the atomic essences of the other partners and poison themselves with them. The alchemist must not only kill desire, but moreover, he has to kill the very shadow of the horrible tree of desire. Two influences interact in the generation of the philosophical stone. One of the masculine character and the other of a feminine character. Whosoever ejaculates his seminal liquor withdraws himself from his inner God. If you want to incarnate your inner Christ, then you must be sour like the lemon. Be displeased. Kill not only desire, but even the shadow of desire. Be perfect in your thoughts, words, and deeds. Be pure. The sexual act among initiates, male and female, has only one objective, that of establishing a contact of opposite poles in order to awaken their Kundalini. With the sexual contact, the mercury of secret philosophy multiplies. When the anseminis is not ejaculated, it is transmuted into seminal vapors. These vapors, at the same time, convert themselves into energies and are bipolarized into positive and negative. The positive are solar forces. The negative are lunar forces. These solar and lunar energies rise through the pair of sympathetic chords that are known as the two witnesses, Ida and Pingala. Our Gnostic disciples must comprehend that this kind of lunar consciousness means something to be conscious of and someone to be conscious of. The lunar conscience is subjected to all kinds of limitations, qualifications, restrictions, reactions. It is a product of matter, the outcome of the inheritance of our race, family, habits, customs, prejudices, desires, fears, appetites, etc. The sinful Adam, with his lunar consciousness, reincarnates with the goal of supposedly gaining experience within the school of life. However, life's experiences complicate and strengthen the sinful Adam. The once innocent humanity from Eden is now the terrible and perverse humanity of the atomic and hydrogen bombs. When we dissolve the lunar consciousness, then the solar consciousness is born within us. It is necessary for the sinful Adam to die within us, so that the Adam, Christ, can be born within us. Then the solar consciousness is born within us. This consciousness contains in itself the knower, knowledge, and the known things. 3 in 1 and 1 in 3. The solar consciousness is omnipresent and omnipenetrating. The solar consciousness liberates the human being from the fatal wheel of the centuries. The present human is a dormant machine. If you want to awaken from the profound dream in which you live, then do not identify with pleasures, desires, emotions, dramas, scenes of your life, etc. Call yourself into vigilance in each step. Remember, good disciple, that people are dreaming. Observe people and their dreams. Analyze all of those dreams in which humanity lives, but do not identify with those dreams so that you can awaken. People believe They are awakened because they are not sleeping in their beds. Regardless, they have their consciousness profoundly asleep. Thus, they dream. Everything that you see amongst the people is simply dreams. Nevertheless, remember that not to identify with one's dreams does not mean to abandon your duties as a father, a mother, or a son or daughter, etc. However, do not identify. This is how you will awaken from the profound dream in which you live. He who generates the astral Christ is able to immortalize himself within that body. The astral Christ is born only through sexual magic. Those people who generated the astral Christ in past reincarnations retain the memory of their past lives and know how to enter and exit from the physical body at will. These people are immortal. Sex is the fifth power of the human being. Sex can liberate or enslave the human being. No one can attain integrity. No one can be deeply self-realized without sexual energy. Sex is the power of the soul. The integral human being is achieved with the absolute fusion of the masculine and feminine poles of the soul. When the pentagram elevates its two inferior rays towards the sky, it represents Satan. When the pentagram becomes light, it elevates only one of its rays towards the sky. This represents the internal Christ of every human being who comes into this world. The human being with his legs and arms spread out to the right and left is the star of 5 points. Brain and sex live in an eternal struggle. Brain must control sex. When sex overcomes the brain, then the star of 5 points falls into the abyss, with the feet pointing upwards and the head pointing downwards. This is the inverted star, the male goat of Mendes, a human figure with the head aiming downwards and the feet aiming upwards, naturally represents a demon. When a man joins with a woman in the secret act, he becomes a god, since he converts himself into a creator at that very moment. Some seers state that in those precise moments of love, the two beings are enveloped by a brilliant burst of light. They are enveloped by the most subtle and potent forces that are in nature. If a man and a woman would know how to withdraw without the spasm and retain such a vibration, then they can operate with it as magicians in order to purify themselves and obtain everything. However, if they do not know how to retain such light, it will abandon them in order to confine itself in the universal currents, yet leaving behind it the open doors from where evil can enter into them. Then love is converted into hatred, into hatred. Illusion is followed by deception. This quote was from Dr. Arnold Crumb Heller in his book Philosophy of the Master of Huaracocha. And now for the final quote. We departed from Eden through the door of sex, and only through that door can we return to Eden. Eden is sex. It is the narrow, straight, and difficult door that leads us into the light. So that concludes this reading of Esoteric Course of Kabbalah by Samael on Weor. You may have noticed that the quotes had an element of progression to them. I started off relatively light, and as we got closer towards the end, some of the heavier type of stuff, it came up. I hope that this video was insightful. At the very least, I hope it gave you some food for thought and and it made you question perhaps retaining and transmuting sexual energy through mental discipline in order to do so. Perhaps that is more important than it seems when first confronted with that concept. So I will end the video here. Take care.